Hello everybody, this is Angel Arts and welcome back to a very special episode of Let's Play Resident Evil 6. For those of you who were not aware, when I played through Resident Evil 6, I wanted to do something a little different, and I invited 4 individual people to play each of the individual campaigns. And now that my playthrough is completely over, I thought it'd be really cool for us to reunite again, bring back every single person that I got a chance to share this experience with, and, you know, we can just spend some time to talk about our thoughts on the games and our experiences. So I'm really excited to have all 4 of these people here. Why don't we go ahead and go around the room and introduce ourselves one more time.
Hi, my name's Alex, and I play with Angel Arts for Jake and Sherry's campaign.
Hello everybody, Schaly. I got the pleasure of playing with Leon and Helena's campaign, so...
Hi guys, this is Sam, and I go to the YouTube name MyCorner102, and I did the Hot Smexy Piers campaign with Hurg.
Hot Smexy Piers. And last but not least...
Hey y'all, it's Ben, and I had the pleasure of playing with Hurg on the Ada campaign, and it was mighty fun.
Awesome. So one of the first things that I wanted to talk about with you guys is, at least for me, I thought what was really interesting about this specific game is that because there were 4 campaigns, and because you were given the option, especially recently with Ada's campaign, to play the campaigns in any order. I thought that, you know, I would try to experiment by asking each of the individual players that played with me to go through the game, choosing a different set of characters order-wise. So, I guess I wanted to find out from each of you individually how you think your order affected the overall experience of your time with the game.
Yeah, so I played with Angel Arts. We started out, we did Jake and Sherry's campaign. After that, I believe we did Chris's campaign, correct?
Yes, I think we jumped to Chris.
Yep, and then we did Ada's, then Leon's, right?
Correct. Ada was...
Yep.
Yeah, so for Alex, yeah, again, it was Jake and Sherry, then Chris and Piers, then Ada, then Leon and Helena. So tell us about your experience with that, Alex.
Yeah, well, so to give a little bit of background, I guess, I'm essentially a virgin with the Resident Evil series here. This was my first Resident Evil game. I've sort of watched some of my friends play them in the past, but it's my first one time I really got to sit down and play through a Resident Evil game. So I didn't have quite the perspective and all the characters that you guys may have had coming into this. So this made it really unique, really kept up the mystery of the 2 Adas for me, because you go through Jake and Sherry's campaign, you still quite really don't know what's going on with Ada. And even in, you know, as you start through Chris's campaign, you know, you see what the evil Ada did to him. And you had, like, I ended up hating Ada. I was like, oh man, she is a jerk. And you know, it wasn't until I actually went through and really played Ada's campaign that I got a better picture of what exactly was going on. It was kind of a cool reveal that I'd gone through that much of the game and then found this out.
Yeah, what I really liked about your specific playthrough, Alex, is that you're right. The reveal of Ada's clone happens not until the 3rd campaign that you played, which I think is the latest that you could get that reveal, because the only other campaign that does that is Leon's and Helena's campaign, and you did that one 4th. So I really like how that specific plot twist was hidden from you for at least the first 2 campaigns.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was interesting, because I had done Leon's campaign second, I did it with you, and I did Jake and Sherry's first. Ada's I actually left till last, and the interesting thing was after I'd finished the Leon campaign, I found myself going through Chris and Piers' campaign going, what's the deal with this clone? When am I going to find out how this happened?
Right.
So there was a lot of suspense that was just kind of drawn out until I got to the Ada campaign and I played through it and I found out exactly why and how it had all happened.
Yeah. I really liked the fact that we didn't start with Leon and Helena's like most people did. I was very surprised because I was looking around at other LPs of Resident Evil 6 and virtually every single one that I've looked at has done the order that they were presented on the menu screen. So everyone I saw went Leon, then Chris, then Jake, and then Ada. And I don't know, I just found that I was disappointed because I thought there would be so much interesting things to see with different Let's Players doing a different order. And you know, if you did play Leon and Helena's first, you know, the whole Ada clone thing is already revealed to you right from the beginning. The other thing that Schaly, you and I have pointed out before with your order is the reveal of Simmons and the things that he does. Because I think that by starting with Jake's and Sherry's, you don't know really much about any of the evil things that Simmons does until the very end of that specific campaign, but you don't know the full gravity of what he actually did until Leon and Helena's, I think.
Yeah, the campaign starts to kind of unfold and you're like, Simmons, where do I know that name?
Right.
And then it's like, oh, you put the pieces together as you're playing, and I think it's really interesting to kind of unfold things slowly as opposed to just knowing everything right away and then playing the other campaigns and going, ah, I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew that.
Sam, how about your experience?
See, I had played Resident Evil 4 a little bit, before, and so I was more familiar with the Leon character. And so I started with Leon, and then did Jake, and then did Chris with you. And then this was all before they released the patch that allowed you to play Ada from the beginning. And so then I played at the very last. But I noticed, especially when I started the Leon and Helena campaign, it's that it seemed I didn't quite get that co-op experience as fast as I did when I started Jake. So it seemed that Leon and Helena, there was a big co-op part at the very end of it, but not very much during the experience. There's a kind of Ada moment, but it wasn't really as big and as immense. It didn't really. About Chapter 4 and Chapter 5 was about when the co-op started. So it kind of was different than switching to doing Jake and Sherry's, where it was immediately right from the first chapter. So and that was kind of cool.
So essentially what you're saying is you kind of warmed yourself up towards the more co-op things later on. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And so it's a really kind of cool thing that happened. I liked it. I like the co-op a lot.
That's an interesting perspective, and the entire time I was very much interested in seeing your reactions because I know that you had freshly played the previous Resident Evil and already had like that story plot in your mind.
A little bit.
Okay. Now Ben.
I played like a little bit, and I just kind of.
So, which brings us to Ben Fitzpatrick, and with Ben we were trying to do something completely different because Ben started with Ada's campaign, isn't that right, Ben?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Tell us about that, because most people, you know, obviously because not until the patch came out they wouldn't have been able to play it at all until the end, but most people do save it for the very end. Ben, tell us about your time playing through Ada's campaign.
Well, what I essentially love is the way it started and escalated through the storyline and all that. And I will tell you, there was a lot of different sequences and combat stuff that I really had not seen in most other games. And I will tell you, this is a lot of... There were a lot of unexpected surprises and different sequences that I felt were very unique. And I have to tell you, this is a really great playthrough, and hopefully when I get time I will go through the other ones, because I unfortunately did not get to go through the other sections of it But I feel that so far this game has really been very fun, and it looks very promising for the rest of it. And as far as Ada's campaign goes, I think it was the best out of all of them.
Ben, one thing that I was trying to pay very close attention was towards your reaction specifically, is I was trying to see if playing through Ada's campaign would spoil the experience of the other campaigns.
It did not.
Right, I noticed that there were certain parts where if you did play Ada's campaign first, there were still plenty of unanswered questions that arose. Even though that the campaign itself was designed to answer a lot of questions and tie up a lot of loose ends, there were a lot of things that I thought, as a person who played it first, it originated a lot of questions. For example, Ben, one thing I noticed specifically was when Ada's on the ship, she's on the cruise ship or whatever that boat is, and she hears the gunshot outside, and she runs out and she sees her clone fall, and, you know, fall to her death. Your reaction was, oh my gosh, she committed suicide. Why did she commit suicide? And I bit my tongue because I didn't want to reveal to you that, no, she didn't actually commit suicide. She was shot, and she was shot up there with Kristen Pierce, but you won't know that until later. So it's, you know, things like that I thought, you know, for me, really solidified, yeah, you really can play these campaigns in any order.
Yeah, well, I thought initially that she did die, and that was sort of the reason I felt that way was because usually when someone falls off a building, that's 9 times out of 10 what's going to happen, but this is a video game. It's not normal for that to occur right away. So I sort of half expected that to be the case, but, you know, like you said, you didn't want to reveal any spoilers, so I sort of felt, you know, I'm not going to worry about it, so...
Yeah, in Resident Evil 6, a lot of things don't really seem to die very easily.
No, they don't.
Oh, goodness.
I think that was a big complaint that I know that some of the viewers, Reclusiarch, he's a great guy who's been following along, and he mentioned that it got a little annoying. And Alex, I think you mentioned this too. It got a little annoying that you would get into this massive boss fight and you think you killed something, and it would reappear like 10 times later. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it sort of ended up getting to the point where I was expecting stuff to come back after it died, and it sort of loses the suspense and or the twist, I guess, when that becomes the norm.
For Schaly and Sam, who I think have played a lot more of the Resident Evils, have you guys? Did you guys feel that got annoying to you, or you're just so used to that because it happens on all the others?
Exactly. I got used to it. It was something that I had actually expected from Resident Evil because it's such a long-standing tradition in a lot of the games, with other bosses having multiple forms and coming back, and so for me it wasn't necessarily annoying, but kind of it helped me in a way to kind of have it feel like an actual Resident Evil game.
I imagined every time the Hoobastank came that they played like dun dun. That's what I imagined, and it made it much more amazing for me.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun.
Do you guys think it's a good thing necessarily that Resident Evil traditionally has bosses that just never die and you have to kill them 8 times before they do?
I think it's a good thing in moderation. When you overdo it, then it becomes an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a zombie game, so it's somewhat expected, I would kind of say, but like, how many times are we going to kill Wesker, you know?
Oh gosh, yes. Really quickly though, do you guys think Wesker is actually gone for good, or do you think he might come back?
They probably made a clone of him, I'm gonna
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, he probably has a clone somewhere.
I want my Pierce clone.
I want a Pierce clone.
Because of what happens to him, because of what happens to him at the end of his campaign, I'm like, oh my gosh, there has to be a Pierce clone or something.
I know. I had remembered in our reporting earlier that I had made a remark about Pierce being very akin to Steve Burnside. Well, much more so now. Because they have very similar endings in kind of that regard.
Yes, that's very true, and both of them have had close partner ties with a Redfield, so there's a lot of parallelism there.
Now, I think that despite all that we've said as far as the cloning stuff, I think that there's still room for possibly another Resident Evil part. Now, I agree that there is a possibility that a lot of the characters could come back as cloned people, but I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but I just think that it potentially, like everyone said, it could. So that's just my thought. So.
With you guys going through your orders in terms of which character you choose when, what do you think is the most ideal or best order to go by if you were to choose a best order? Are you pretty much set on the one that you did, or do you think that if you would play it again, you would do it in a different way, and in terms of how things got revealed to you?
I think the only change that I would have made in my order is to play Chris's campaign before Leon's campaign.
Why is that?
I feel like because Leon's campaign reveals so much as far as Ada's concerned, it seems almost a little better to leave it to just before the Ada campaign and draw out some suspense as far as other things are concerned, because I feel like seeing Leon in Chris's campaign would have raised a lot of questions had I played it before Leon's campaign.
So your order that you think would be best would be Jake, then Chris, then Leon, then Ada.
Yeah.
Okay. How about you, the rest of you guys?
Yeah, I agree with Schaly. That would be my ideal order too.
Yeah, I kind of spoiled myself. I would say that I spoiled myself doing Leon's first, because it did kind of reveal so much of what was going on behind the scenes that I really should have waited a little bit longer to play that one.
Yeah, which is a shame that so many people play it first. Because it gives away so much.
Well, it's also the main two characters of the prologue, and so it kind of felt natural to go into them and see, okay,
That's
well, what's
true.
going on with these?
That's true. I wonder what made them decide to have Leon be the main character for the prologue, because it could have been anyone, but they decided to start with Leon. Any thoughts? Besides the fact that, Schaly and I are probably partial to Leon.
I think a lot of it had to do with just, it raises a lot of questions. Like, you can have that kind of section in the prologue and not really spoil too much as far as the plot line and what happened and how it happened. I think it was just a good way to introduce mechanics of the game without introducing plot.
Ben,
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I had a comment.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, if I were to redo the series again, I would probably stick with Ada's first, and then go, whatever order that I would go. I would probably go with Leon, Chris, and then
Jake.
Yeah.
That's an interesting order.
And then I would probably just stop at that point. Probably just comment on them or something. But that's just how I would perceive it. So.
Gotcha. So here's the big question: whose campaign did you think was the best? Which one was your favorite campaign, or was the best campaign in your opinion?
Ada.
Ada for Ben. All right. How about the rest of you guys?
It's a hard choice for me because I like the campaigns for very different reasons.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna go for nostalgia feeling, I'm gonna pick Leon's campaign. But if I want to go for, which campaign I thought had the best ending, that would have went with Pierce's campaign. Which campaign had my favorite action scenes? I picked Jake's campaign.
Yeah.
I like the interaction between Jake and Sherry in that the Ustanok and how it kept coming back. That was a kind of really cool mechanic. It reminded me of kind of I haven't played all the Resident Evils, but I know that at one point the Nemesis project, that whole kind of, I like that character dynamic, and I guess it's hard between Leon and Leon's because of the co-op moments and just how amazing that becomes, especially towards the end. It's so amazing. but between that like dynamic between those kind of three, between Jake, Sherry, and the Ustanok, that's kind of, I guess, that would make me appreciate Jake's more. So.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Jake and Sherry's the most, I think, too. And maybe I'm partial because that's the first one that I played. So there could be some of that. I also really enjoyed the co-op action that was going on in that, and how heavily intertwined it was. There were some pretty cool scenes, especially with the co-op parts and the boss battles. And I like the car chases and motorcycle chases.
Yeah, for me, if I really had to pick, I think it really is a toss-up between Leon's and Jake's, but I think I ultimately would also pick Jake for both of the reasons that Sam and Alex said. One thing I liked is I think I enjoyed the character development relationship-wise between Sherry and Jake. Just watching them interact with each other throughout the story and how their relationship changed, I thought was fantastic. More so than the relationships between the partners of the other two partnered campaigns. And also because I think that of all the campaigns, I felt Jake's had the most diverse, like, mini games, I guess you could call them, than some of the other ones. Although Chris's was pretty diverse as well, with the jet and everything else. But
oh, that was fun.
But
the boost of the Humvee.
But I just loved. I loved with Jake's campaign. I just enjoyed not only the co-op boss fight with the giant ogre with Chris and Piers, but also, you know, escaping from the facility and the motorcycle chase, and yeah, it was just a lot of
sexual healing.
Sexual healing. That was all Alex's idea, by the way. I did not. That was all Alex.
I had inspiration from you, so.
And then with the Helen Keller thing, I had to go with that. So that was why that was. Which campaign do you guys think was the weakest for you?
Tough decision. If I had to decide, probably from what I saw, I would say Jake's, because that's the one I started watching from you. And I have to say that I was easily turned away from that, probably because...
Because you were watching me play it?
No, not that. Not that. I wasn't putting it that way. I was saying because I just felt that it was not the most enthusiastic looking and not the one that I could see myself playing full time, and probably just because it was just not very entertaining. So I felt that this is just not worth viewing, and I just didn't think that it was very good. Okay. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I like different opinions. How about the other three?
I can kind of agree with it being kind of a turnoff, because I feel like even as a Resident Evil aficionado and stuff, you don't feel as invested with those characters immediately as you would with Leon or Chris, because they're well established. I think in terms for me, I'd have to say Chris's. I don't want to, because the ending kind of really salvaged how I'd felt earlier in the campaign about it. But it's Chris's whole emo thing, and I had to struggle to get through it. So
yeah,
I can't really pick out a weakest one. It's kind of hard for me. I do sort of echo some Schaly's opinions on the Chris Redfield campaign, with him being a little emo there. But otherwise, I don't know. None of them. I didn't really have any distaste for one enough to declare it as weak enough, I guess.
You know, it's kind of a toss-up, really, because I felt that Ada's campaign, going through it probably was because I had already learned everything that was going on with Ada. Through Leon's and Chris's and Jake's, I had already kind of learned. And so I felt that Ada's campaign was kind of stuff that I really didn't need to see. If that makes sense? Kind of stuff that I've already figured out. And there's a good amount of novelty in it, for sure. Especially the relationship between Ada and the clone, Carly. Carly. But it felt as though I had kind of already figured this out. It wasn't really that novel to me.
Do you think part of the reason why Ada was weakest for you is because there was no partner for you, regardless of whether or not it was AI controlled?
Yeah, maybe. It was more along the story of the plot that I kind of know this. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like that she was sneaking, and I like that kind of scene, what was happening before, but it was kind of stuff that I'd already kind of figured out by then, and because I'd already played all the other 3 campaigns, so it was kind of like...
Yeah. For me, if I had to choose a least favorite, I think I have to agree with Schaly and Alex about Chris's campaign. Because it was, for me as well, a struggle to get through Chris's emo moments. I thought that he was being a little ridiculously over the top at times, and it wasn't as enjoyable to play as him, I guess, knowing that he had such anger management issues. But fortunately, Piers, I think helped saved it a lot for me, even though, because that man. We'll be talking more about Piers in a moment, but
Okay.
I didn't think it was a bad campaign, but compared to everybody else, I think Chris's for me would be the weakest. With the partner system in general, because I wanted to touch on that with you guys too. I know that Resident Evil, when you guys started, you pretty much had a lone character going through the adventure, and just recently with, I think, Resident Evil 5 and 6 and Resident Evil 0, because you had Rebecca Chambers and oh gosh, not Carlos, what's his name, Billy Cohen. They started going towards having like a partner system. Do you guys think that's a good addition to the series, or not?
I'll say it is. But, you know, I didn't play all the other Resident Evil games, so I just think that for 6's sake, I think it was.
Okay.
I think in general it's a good addition to have, because the older games have already got the 2 character pair-ups. You know, you had Leon and Claire and Chris and Jill and stuff like that, so you still have the option to play single player, so it's not like you have to, but it kind of opens the Resident Evil doors to co-op players, to social players who like to share their experiences with other people.
So, I guess I don't have quite the perspective, because it's not the Resident Evil game, but I guess just looking from an outside point of view, one thing it did do is it brought me into the Resident Evil series. Because of this co-op experience, I got a chance to sit down and play with you. So maybe at least at some level it'll act like that and bring some new people into the series who might not have been exposed to it otherwise.
It was more forgiving because it was co-op. I think that added to it. It was great to see just how you can have the 2 characters in terms of their dialogue, and just how it made it a lot more interesting to go through, as opposed to kind of the solitary kind of experience.
For me, initially, when they started doing it with the Resident Evil series, I actually didn't like it at all. I actually hated it. And the reason I hated having the partner system is because it didn't feel as scary for me. Like, when I was playing Resident Evil, I wanted to be somewhat scared. And for me, if you have someone who has your back, who's able to look behind your back and is with you the whole time, it was a little different in Resident Evil 1, because yeah, you had Barry and you had Rebecca Chambers, but they were in and out and weren't with you throughout most of the mansion. And the same thing can be said for a lot of the other earlier Resident Evils. So I kind of lost the sense of danger a little bit with the partner system, and that was why I didn't really like it as much. However, going into Resident Evil 6, I kind of knew that it was going to be a different feel anyway. I kind of went in expecting the game to not be that scary, so I really did I opened up to the idea of having partners because of the social aspect, and even though it wasn't as scary, it was, I think, still a lot of fun, if not as fun as it was when you were a solo character for me.
there were definitely some scary moments. I mean, with Leon's campaign being such a throwback, it had its moments where you were like, okay, what the heck happened?
That's true. Yeah, that is very true.
I think that it makes you care about somebody. So, like, say for instance, you had that co-op partner. They kind of just go for a different kind of fear, because then you're fearing for somebody else's safety as opposed to fearing for your own. And so it kind of changes the dynamic slightly, and to people who aren't used to that, I guess it would be very strange.
That's a very good point, Sam. I never thought of it that way. That's very good.
But I mean, the concept of whether or not fear for yourself is more stronger, I would think that fear for yourself would be more stronger a fear than fear about somebody else. So it'd be kind of hard to pull off. But I see what you mean, that it would kind of make it less scary a bit, because you always kind of have somebody that's there with you, just in case something bad happens, kind of.
Right.
Exactly. It's like watching a scary movie with a room full of people is significantly less scary than watching it in a room by yourself.
That's very true. So what do you guys think is your personal favorite playable character in this game? Which of the playable characters?
Jake.
Why do you like Jake the most, Alex?
He's just an all-around badass. I enjoyed playing, I guess with him, because I didn't directly control him, but he was just a fun character. And, I guess especially characterized by his little ending teaser there, too. He's just a typical badass and very cool, so fun.
Yeah, and what I like about Jake is that he also has a soft side, too. I mean, and he loves apples. That's always a
Yeah, Jake runs a really close second. My favorite character in any Resident Evil game is probably always going to be Leon. But what I did like about Jake was I liked Jake's game mechanics, and I like how they were. You know, he had the hand-to-hand thing, which I thought was really cool. It was a
really
unique kind of thing to throw in there, and you know, it helps that Jake is voiced by Troy Baker, but but I would say Leon, and I think a part of it is if I were to take out everything else and ignore all the other games, I would still say Leon, and I think it's because I feel drawn to his personality as a person.
I think that Jake was a great person to play as, but that's just coming from what I saw on your video. And then I think personally Ada was fun, but not the most fun, because I think that the more we did it together, the more I liked it, but I didn't feel that it was the best, just because it was sort of drawn out, and given it was the last one, I wasn't as excited about it as I would have been had I played one of the other ones.
Are you saying that you like Jake more than Ada, or Ada more than Jake?
Yes.
You like Jake more than Ada. Okay.
Yeah. And I feel that he really seems to have more potential and be more fun than Ada.
I'm gonna agree with Schaly, and I like the hand-to-hand with Jake. That was a lot of fun. But I'm gonna ultimately say Ada, just because I like the character of Ada, and running around that little grappling hook is kind of fun. And the difference between the normal crossbows is a really cool gun, and the explosive crossbows was one.
Yeah.